Welcome to part 2 of the emotional detachment and freedom episode. If you are watching this for the first time, please look for the link to the part 1 in our description box. Go and watch the part 1 and then you can come back and watch this second part. That way you'll be able to understand the entire episode. We will discuss 8 toolbox of practices backed by insights from psychology and tried and true wisdom. You don't have to do all of them. Even one or two can make a real difference in your life. So the first one we're going to look at is mindfulness meditation. No surprise here. Mindfulness is the practice most associated with building detachment. Even just 5 to 10 minutes a day of mindfulness, example, focusing on your breath or doing a body scan, trains you to observe your thoughts and feelings without immediately reacting. It's like a gym workout for the observer muscle in your mind. Over time, you'll notice that gap between stimulus and response widening. For instance, when anger flares, you might catch it sooner and think, oh, anger is here, instead of being angry right away. Studies show that mindfulness not only improves emotional regulation, but also literally changes the brain, increasing gray matter in areas responsible for attention and self control, and shrinking the amygdala. Remember, that's the fear center. If you are new to meditation, you can start simply, sit quietly, pay attention to your breath for a few minutes. When your thoughts or feelings arise, and they will, practice not following them down that rabbit hole. Just note thinking or feeling and gently return to the breath. This habit, practiced daily, bleeds into life. Soon you'll find yourself taking that mindful pause in real conflict or stress moments, which is detachment in action. The second tool we are going to look at is cognitive reframing. Ask different questions. Our internal questions often determine our focus. So when something goes wrong, notice if your mind asks, why is this happening to me? That can signal attachment to seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance. To detach, deliberately reframe the question and ask, what can I learn from this? Or how can I respond constructively? Or even, will this matter in 5 days or in 5 years? These kinds of questions shift from emotional reaction to problem solving or perspective taking. Another powerful reframing tool comes from therapy technique. Challenge your thoughts. If you catch yourself thinking in all or nothing or catastrophic terms, this project is ruined, my career is over, or step back and ask, is that really true? What's another way to see this? This is essentially detaching from the initial thoughts and examining it objectively. Psychologists call it cognitive restructuring. It's amazing how often our stress comes not from the situation, most times, but from the story we're telling about it. So by changing the narrative, we change the outcomes. The third tool we're going to look at is mindful language. Language shapes mindsets. When you say, I am angry or I am stressed, you're identifying with the emotion. Instead, Practice phrasing it as I feel angry, or even better, I notice I'm feeling anger. This might sound minor, but it reinforces a detached perspective. You are not about your emotion, it's a transient experience. Some people even like to say, anger is here, as if observing a visitor. This linguistic trick comes from therapies like ACT, that is the acceptance and commitment therapy, and mindfulness traditions. It creates a space between you and what you're feeling. It might feel silly at first, but try it. Next time you're anxious about a presentation, instead of I'm anxious, tell yourself, I notice anxiety in me. See if that changes how entangled you feel. The fourth tool we're looking at is journaling and externalization. Writing out your thoughts and feelings can be a great way to get them out of your head. One exercise is when you're upset, write a journal entry as if you're a narrator describing the situation and your feelings in third person. She was frustrated that her idea was overlooked in the meeting. She felt unappreciated. Stuff like that. Write them down. This technique, similar to self distancing research, helps you gain clarity and often some objectivity about the issue. Alternatively, you could write a letter to a friend. You don't have to actually send it, just about what you're dealing with. It forces you to clarify the story in a contained way. Journaling can also reveal patterns of attachment. You might notice, wow, I mentioned needing validation a lot. Maybe I'm overly attached to external approval. Such insights are the first step to loosening those attachments. The fifth tool we're going to look at is set healthy boundaries, work life boundaries. Detachment sometimes means physically or temporarily detaching yourself from a situation to gain perspective. For example, if you're constantly attached to work through your phone, consider a rule: no work emails after a certain time, or a phone free hour in the morning for yourself. Use that time to reconnect with things you actually enjoy, like reading, maybe exercising, or spending time with family without the mental pull of work. These boundaries prevent burnout and reminds you that you're a whole person beyond your job. Also, if news or social media makes you emotionally crazed, which by the way is very common nowadays, detach by limiting your exposure. It's not that you do not care about world events, but constant doom scrolling attaches you to a state of anxiety or outrage. Take breaks, maybe do a digital detox on weekends. And when you return, you often find you can engage more thoughtfully, not reactively. In relationships, boundary setting is crucial for detachment. Kindly let others know what you can and can't give. You can tell them, I'm happy to support you, but I won't be available after 10 p.m. as I need to rest. Or, I value our discussions, but I'm not comfortable with shouting. Let's speak calmly or take a break. These are ways of detaching from being pulled into someone else's emotional vortex while still respecting them. The sixth tool we are going to look at is the Stoic practices, that's daily reflection and negative visualization. Borrow a page from the Stoics. One practice is daily reflection. Perhaps at mornings or bedtime, take a few minutes to run through your day, past or upcoming, and imagine the challenges that could test your calm. So the Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius prepared each morning by reminding himself, today I may meet ingratitude, insult, injury, not to be pessimistic, but to prime himself not to be shocked or angered when it happened. You can do a gentle version like, it's likely someone will cut me off in traffic today, or a coworker might annoy me. Now, when it happens, I'll pause and take it personally. This way, you're less attached to the day going perfectly smoothly. Negative visualization is another exercise. Briefly imagine losing a thing you love, not to depress yourself, but to appreciate it. And also understand that if life changes, you could still be very okay. After visualizing, you often feel gratitude for what you have now and a calmer acceptance that nothing is guaranteed or promised. It is important to point out that negative visualization must be used sparingly and with a stable mindset. It is not meant to make you anxious, but to build resilience. So please, if it makes you anxious, kindly skip it. The seventh tool we are going to look at today is the Serenity check. Control what you can. So you can invoke the spirit of serenity prayer, often quoted in recovery communities. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. To put it secularly, make a quick list or mental note in any dilemma. What factors are in my control here and what aren't? Then commit to focusing only on the controllables. An example would be, if you are nervous about an upcoming job interview, you can't control the interviewer's mood or the competition. So detach from worrying about those. But you can control your preparation, your mindset going in as well. So pour all your energy into the latter. This structured reflection helps you detach from futile worrying. Right can control versus cannot control columns, if that helps. The eighth tool we're going to look at is self-compassion and humor. Sometimes detachment is hardest when we're judging ourselves. So practice self-compassion. Talk to yourself as you would to a dear friend. If you made a mistake, instead of I'm so stupid, detachedly notice, I made an error. I'm human. It's okay. This kind of kind self talk actually makes it easier to go and improve rather than beating yourself up, which keeps you attached to the negative emotion. And don't underestimate humor as a tool. Humor is inherently a form of cognitive reframing. It finds a surprising angle to a situation. If you can chuckle at your predicament, you are 90% detached already. So next time you're stressed, ask, okay, what's ironic or funny about this? Even if you just imagine how this situation would sound in a sitcom, you're stepping into an observer role, laughing at ourselves or the absurdity of life instantly releases tension. It reminds us not to take everything so deadly serious, and that loosening is detachment. We have discussed the 8 toolkits, but if you're still thinking, I need a toolkit to help me detach and show my impact, here's my promise fulfilled. I have created a free resource just for you. The Clarity Kit. 5 proven tools to help you tell your story, show your impact, and get results. It's a simple, actionable way to start applying clarity and detachment in your work and leadership. You can grab it for free in the link in the description box or the link on the screen now. Try incorporating one or two of these practices this week. Detachment is a skill. It strengthens with repetition. Be patient with yourself, okay? It's normal to still get caught up in emotions. We all do. But with these tools, you likely notice that you recover faster and don't stay stuck in destructive emotional loops as long as unnecessary. Each small step is progress towards that emotional freedom we're after. To ground all this theory, let's explore a couple of stories that illustrate detachment and emotional freedom in action. This will give some understanding to all we've talked about. So, a personal story, I'll share one of mine. Um, Early on in my career, I was obsessed with perfection. I had a major presentation to a client that I wanted to knock out of the park. I spent weeks on redefining or refining every slide, every word. I was attached to the idea of delivering a flawless speech. And if I'm honest, attached to the praise I hoped I was going to get. Now, on the day, nothing went as planned. Trust me. The projector malfunctioned and I had to present with no visuals. Then I misheard a question and gave a shaky answer. I left the meeting feeling like a total failure. I literally sat in my car afterward, heart pounding, replaying everything I did wrong. I was attached to that outcome and it tore me up. Here's where detachment kicked in. A mentor of mine gave me a call that evening, and upon hearing my despair, he laughed kindly and said, "So what? You think this one meeting was going to make or break your career? Come on, let it go. Learn and move on. No one is thinking about your mistakes as much as you are." That was the light bulb for me. He was right. I realized I made the presentation too much a part of my self worth. I decided to detach from the outcome. Maybe the client didn't sign on. Oh, well, I would still be okay. I could even find humor in the technical flop. That wasn't my fault. That mental shift was freeing. Not only did I feel lighter, but funnily enough, I performed better in the next presentation because I wasn't tying my entire self esteem to it. I learned my lesson. I was present, even a bit playful, and the clients engaged much more. In the end, they actually did come on board later and mentioned how calm and confident I seemed. Detachment for the win. Another case study we are going to consider is a contemporary one, so a leader in crisis. In 2008, when the global financial crisis hit, many companies were panicking. A startup founder nearly lost her company when funding dried up. The founder had poured her identity into this social enterprise. It was her baby. When investors pulled out, she was devastated, on the verge of burnout, taking it as a personal failure. After a tough week, she did something radical. For a hard charging entrepreneur, she mentally let go of the outcome. She said, all right, worst case scenario, the company folds. Who am I if that happens? I'm still me, right? I still have learned an incredible amount. I can start again. She detached her self worth from the fate of this one venture. In doing so, She relieved immense pressure. This clear headedness allowed her to see options she'd missed. She pivoted her business model to be sustainable with almost no funding, something she was too panic blinded to consider before. She also was honest with her team, acknowledging the uncertainty with a strangely calm demeanor that inspired them. That team didn't fall apart. Mm-mm. They tightened together, each detaching from the fear of we are doomed and focusing on what can we do right now. Long story short, the startup survived the recession by transforming completely. The founder later reflected that accepting the possible failure, which is detachment, freed her to act decisively and creatively. Whereas clinging to her initial vision would have sunk them. Leaders who survive crisis often share these traits: the ability to emotionally metabolize worst case scenarios without despair and move forward. Another case study we are going to consider is in sports and the short memory. In sports psychology, there is a known concept that elite athletes need a short memory. If a quarterback throws an interception or a basketball player misses an easy shot, dwelling on it can mess their mindset for the rest of the game. What do? The best competitors detach from the mistake immediately. They shake it off, reset emotionally, and are fully present for the next play. One famous example is Kobe Bryant. He could miss 10 shots in a row, but you never see him looking rattled. He would keep playing as if the slate was clean, often ending the game with a clutch performance. When asked, he talked about trusting his training and not letting previous misses deter him. Essentially, he's detaching from the outcome of each shot and focusing on the process. This mindset is applicable outside sports too. If you flub a line in a speech or make a small error, don't let it throw you off. Detach immediately and move on confidently. Most people won't even remember the hiccup unless you're so hung up on it that it shows in your behavior. Another real life area where detachment plays a big role is in personal relationships, especially challenging ones. Consider someone with a family member struggling with addiction. It's an emotional roller coaster of love, fear, hope, and disappointment. Therapists often encourage loving detachment in these cases. This means that you maintain love and hope for the person, but you detach from the impulse to control their behavior or from constant anxiety over their choices. One individual, let's call her Janet, shared that detachment saved her sanity when her brother was in recovery. She attended support groups and learned the mantra, not my circus, not my monkeys. A humorous way to remind herself that she didn't cause or couldn't fix her brother's situation. So by detaching with love, Janet stopped checking up on him constantly, stopped losing sleep every night, fearing a relapse. She set boundaries. Example, I'm here to talk if you're sober. If you're high, I'm going to end the call. This was incredibly hard, but it ultimately helped both her and her brother. She regained her emotional balance, and her brother Seeing she wouldn't always be there to rescue him, took more responsibility for his recovery. This story shows that detachment is sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others. It's not abandonment, it's respect for reality and for healthy interdependence instead of codependence. Each of the four stories that we have looked at, whether it's real world famous figures or an everyday hero, shines a light on different facets of detachment. The common thread is freedom. The freedom to continue doing what matters without being a prisoner of emotional turbulence. We have covered a lot, so let's zoom out and bring this home. Emotional detachment and freedom at their core are about empowerment. It might sound like a paradox, but when you let go of the need to control everything, you actually gain more control over yourself. You become the calm eye in every storm. You make decisions guided by purpose and principle, not just provoked by panic or desire. And you find a kind of inner peace that isn't rocked by every wind that blows. Five key takeaways from this whole session would be: one, that detachment is a skill, not a personality trait. Anyone can cultivate it with practice. It doesn't mean you care less about life, it means you live with more clarity and balance. Number two, emotional freedom is your birthright. No matter the situation, we can claim the freedom to choose our attitude. That's incredibly powerful. And it starts in small moments of everyday life, not just extreme trials. Number three, ancient wisdom plus modern science agree excessive attachment, whether to outcomes, ego, or emotions, causes suffering and clouded judgment. Learning to observe and release through mindfulness, reframing, etc., leads to better health, better decisions, and probably a better night's sleep. Number four, leaders and change makers especially benefit from detachment. It keeps you resilient in the faces of setbacks and humble in the face of success. It helps you avoid burnout by not over identifying with work. You care deeply without drowning. Number five, healthy detachment equals calm focus. You're engaged in life, but not enslaved by it. As the Bhagavad Gita taught, put your heart into your work, but let go of rigid expectations. Ironically, that often gets you better results. And even if not, you stay steady. So, how do we put these into impactful practice? I challenge you today over the next week to notice one situation where you tend to get emotionally hooked. Maybe it's reading the news before bed, or a difficult coworker interaction, or even your own inner critic flaring up when you make a mistake. Catch yourself in that moment and try one of the tools we discussed earlier. You reframe the story you're telling, or deliberately change "I am upset" to "I feel upset." Write down afterwards how it went. Did the situation feel different when you approached it with a bit of more detachment? What did you learn about yourself? If you like, turn this into a mini experiment each day. Pick a small detachment exercise. Maybe you could meditate in the morning or do a nightly "what's in my control" journaling. It could be as simple as saying, "Today I will practice not immediately checking on my phone when I'm bored. I'll sit with that feeling. Observe what that's like. You might discover some eye opening things about where your attachments lie and how freeing it is to loosen them. Finally, remember to be patient and even playful with this journey. Emotional mastery is a lifelong practice. You will sleep, and that's okay. But when you do, detach from the frustration of sleeping, laugh it off, and keep going. As a parting thought, consider detachment as like holding a bird in your hand. You hold too tight, which is attachment, and you might harm it. Hold it too loosely, which is indifference, and it might fly away uncherished. But if you hold it with a gentle open arm or open palm, the bird is free and oddly, it may stay with you longer. Let's take some practical steps. Drop a comment below. What's one situation where you practice detachment this week? Thank you so much for spending this time with me today on Clarity to Impact. I hope this exploration of emotional detachment and freedom gives you something practical to work with in your leadership journey and life. Your clarity of mind will amplify your impact. I truly believe that. Here is to leading with a calm heart and a free spirit. If today's discussion sparked some clarity, you'll love what's next. In the upcoming episode, we'll dive into emotional agility, the secret weapon to staying flexible and adaptable in the face of challenges. We'll explore real life strategies, personal stories, and science backed tools that will help you navigate change with confidence. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a drop of impact. Your clarity is your power. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay clear, stay compassionate, and keep making an impact. Goodbye.